In today's video, we're back with some updated NHL trade rumors. Teams we're focusing on today include the Vancouver Canucks, the Buffalo Sabres, the Edmonton Oilers, plus I also have some other information on some offer sheets that many of you may not be aware. There's actually some key RFAs that are not offer sheet eligible. I'll explain why coming up next. Welcome back to Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have some more updated NHL trade rumors. A lot of this is stemming from other moves that we've seen happen here over the past 24 hours or so. And I want to get started here with the Vancouver Canucks. I just recently did a video just a short time ago, earlier today, talking about the Michael Furlan signing, how he signed a contract here with Vancouver for 4 years at $3.5 million. It's a little bit surprising to see the Canucks go out and get another UFA before they get Brock Boeser under contract. They do have a limited amount of cap space, and not only do they have Boeser, but they also have forward Nikolai Goldobin needs a new contract here as well. I found it very interesting to see them make this move. Now, of course, I do like Michael Furlan as a player. I had done a video not long before free agency started talking with the top 5 players I thought might get a really valuable contract, who can get better bang for their buck than what they're getting paid for. And I thought Furlan might be one of those guys. And really for $3.5 million, I don't have a lot of concerns about that. But I'm a little bit concerned over the term with all the injuries and the way that Furlan tends to play. Like, he plays a very physical style of game. He's battled some concussions. So the term's a little bit longer than I thought he might get. I thought he would end up with a 2 or 3 year contract. But I guess we'll see how that works out. The money part, though, I think will be well worth it. For me, it's just a little bit surprising based on all the other veteran players that they already have in their lineup. But obviously that leads me to think that they're more likely working on trading some other players. Now, there's lots of Canucks that have been in the trade rumor mill. Of course, we've been hearing all about Louis Eriksson really since the end of the regular season. So it is quite possible. Maybe they have something in the works to finally move him. Obviously, that would be a big load off their salary cap. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk lately about trading Chris Tanev, maybe bringing back Ben Hutton. But at this point, I think it's doubtful. If they do trade Tanev, I'm not sure they can sign Hutton unless he signs for a really cheap contract, which I guess is remotely possible. But then there's also forwards like Brandon Sutter as well. And even Tim Schaller reportedly has asked to be moved as well. I've seen some reports that saying that Tim Schaller would like a fresh start and would like to be moved along to play his final year of his contract with a different NHL club. So obviously that's a lot of salary cap money tied up amongst all the players that I just mentioned here. I would imagine that the Brock Boeser contract is going to be fairly sizable. Many people out there believe it's going to be a 4-year bridge deal, which would still leave him as an RFA at the end of the contract. So that to me kind of makes good sense for the Canucks and for Boeser. Allows him to cash in again later. Hopefully keeps the numbers in line for what Vancouver wants to spend on Brock Boeser. But obviously, that's going to be a big contract for this team to get underway here and get it in place before we get too much later into the regular season. I mean, Boeser doesn't have arbitration rights, so it's not going to get settled that way. So they need to come to terms here on their own, or of course, like any of these other RFAs without arbitration rights, the only other option would be for him to sit out if a contract's not reached before the start of the season. Now, I don't think we have any reason to believe that's going to happen here. I think Brock Boeser and the Canucks will figure something out. We've seen a lot of reports lately indicating that the talks are progressing well, but yet we don't have a contract announcement. Yet we have one for Michael Furlan, so it's just kind of surprising on the direction of the team here. But obviously, I would really think that based on that Furlan signing, the Canucks must feel that they're really close to doing a trade to get some other money off the books here. And all the players I mentioned here are the most common suspects who likely could be moved out. So we'll see. But obviously, I fully suspect a move to be made here out of Vancouver in the short term. Now, next up, I want to take a look at the Buffalo Sabres. Now, we saw them make a very interesting trade yesterday, acquiring Henry Jokiharju from the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for forward Alex Nylander. Many people, especially on the Chicago side, are kind of scratching their heads going, what is Stan Bowman doing here? Why would he trade arguably their top prospect on the back end here for a struggling forward? I mean, I realize they pulled a rabbit out of a hat here and got Dylan Strome, and he's obviously not the draft bust that many people were projecting him to be. But it just seems like quite a gamble for Chicago. It doesn't make sense, but it looks like a great steal here for Buffalo. But if you look at all the acquisitions and the way that they've adjusted this blue line since the trade deadline, it really makes me think now more than ever that we're going to see Rasmus Ristolainen get moved out, free up some cap space, and really have them go after another, hopefully, number 2 center iceman would make the most sense here for Buffalo. Obviously, they already acquired Brandon Montour at the deadline. They then acquired Colin Miller here not too long ago as well, and now they add Jokiharju. Obviously, Ristolainen's a right shot. Casey Nelson's a right shot. There's more than enough capable defensemen there, and really they could move out Ristolainen and go with the 3 here of Montour, Miller, and Jokiharju, 1, 2, 3 down the right side, and be in good shape as well. So to me, I think more than likely they're going to take advantage of the value that Ristolainen will still have and try to upgrade their center position so they can knock Casey Middlestat down to the lower level here, get him down to the third line, and really improve the overall team depth. Who could the Sabres possibly target? Well, there's a lot of guys that I think have been in the rumor mill that might make some sense to a degree here. They could look to Nashville and take a look at Kyle Turris, for example. They might expect Nashville to retain some salary based on his performance last year, but really, if you look at the overall body of work in Kyle Turris' career, he's had some pretty solid seasons. If he can bounce back and provide that type of play like he did before, a one-for-one trade might not be, out of this question here. There's also Nick Bjugstad in Pittsburgh as well. We know the Penguins are looking to shed some salary. Bjugstad obviously has got great size, might be able to be the guy that they're looking for here to improve their depth up the middle. It's another possibility. I mean, they could look to the UFA market and maybe trade Ristolainen for something else. There's a few guys out there with experience, maybe like a Derek Brassard. Although I don't really see Brassard as a number 2 center anymore. I see him more likely being a number 3 on a lot of clubs, maybe even a number 4 in some cases. So I'm not sure exactly who they would target. That's just some ideas on my part, but really, after all the acquisitions they've made, that blue line's getting deeper and deeper all the time, and it just makes too much sense here for them to trade Ristolainen and really improve their center depth overall and get that solid number 2 guy who can bump down Middlestat and take the pressure off and just really overall improve their whole team here. And if Buffalo can do that with all the other moves they've made, I really like the look of the Sabres heading into the regular season. Next up, I want to talk about the Edmonton Oilers and the likelihood here that Jesse Puljujarvi does get moved, and the fact that they've been trying to attach him to Milan Lucic in order to move that contract, which obviously they're not real fond of here at this point. We have seen reports from Puljujarvi's agent, though, indicating that even though the changes that the Oilers have made within their management and coaching staff, that he still wants out and that he doesn't feel like it's a good fit for Jesse Puljujarvi in Edmonton at all. They acknowledge the fact that they have a lot of respect for guys like Holland and Tippett, but just don't think it's a fit for him there anymore. So many do believe that they will trade him. Obviously, he doesn't have any intentions of playing there. He's talked about maybe going to play in Europe, but it is believed that the Oilers will find a way to move him, and obviously they would prefer to attach a contract like Lucic to him, which I think is going to be difficult. There's been a lot of debate online about the Milan Lucic signing bonuses. I've seen some people indicate they feel that July 17th is the payment date, and that if that's the case, that maybe we'll see a move afterwards, because obviously that would lessen the financial burden on the team acquiring him. And others say that they have sources confirming that that's not the case, that Lucic's bonus was due on July 1st, and that the July 17th bonus is actually something that McDavid has in his contract. So I don't know exactly what is 100% accurate there. The people that are saying they have sources indicating that Lucic was July 1st do seem to be relatively credible, so I guess we'll see if that's the case here or not. But either way, it looks as though Puljujarvi likely does get moved and likely will be used as a sweetener attached to the Lucic contract to see if they can move him. But I guess that's not going to be easy to do. There's not a lot of teams with a ton of cap space right now after all the trades and signings we've seen here so far during the offseason. Now, the Oilers are also believed to likely be interested in trading a defenseman, more likely either Benning or Russell. Obviously, Benning would be easier because he doesn't have a no-trade clause. Chris Russell still has 2 years on his deal, but he does have a form of a no-trade clause as well, which certainly complicates that. But either way, one of those defensemen could likely be moved in order to kind of save some salary cap space here and maybe work in one of their younger, promising defensemen. They do have some decent prospects on the blue line that they're hopefully going to try to find some more ice time for this year as well. Now, as I mentioned, I have some information here on some NHL RFAs that I've seen a lot of debate on over here online, especially on Twitter recently, that I kind of wanted to give you some information to clear things up. There are some players that are technically looking for new contracts that are RFAs, I guess, but are not eligible for an offer sheet. That includes some players like Vancouver's Brock Besser, Boston's Charlie McAvoy, Ottawa's Colin White, and also Jacob Forsbacka-Karlsson as well with the Bruins, who's already indicated he's going to be playing in Sweden next year, so he won't be with the Bruins at the NHL level next season. But either way, all those guys do not qualify technically to be traditional restricted free agents, and I'll put some information here from Cap Friendly up on the screen where they kind of explain this a little bit further. They're classified as a different type of free agent, and they don't have enough service tenured in the NHL yet to be considered a full RFA. Which means that they're not eligible to receive an offer sheet. Now, Vegas's Nikita Gusev also falls into this category. Now, obviously, Gusev came over from the KHL, signed a one-year contract with Vegas, has not played as of yet, but obviously that contract was already burnt and expired, so he needs a new contract here as well. But he has not technically played, and obviously the terms of service and the player's age plays a factor here. And if you look at like McAvoy's been injured, missed a fair bit of time. Colin White's been up and down through the minors. Brock Besser only has 2 years under his belt here as well. So none of those guys have enough NHL experience as of yet, or not the right age, in order to get the full RFA rights. So they're not eligible for an offer sheet. So I know I've seen many comments, and we've discussed further here, talking about potential offer sheets to guys like Gusev or Besser, but that is not going to happen. They are not eligible. They will have to remain with their existing clubs, come to contracts, or possibly be traded would be the other option, of course, which in the case of Nikita Gusev seems quite likely here to happen. But another team can't just swoop in and offer sheet Gusev, where Vegas is in a very vulnerable position with the salary cap. That's not something that he's eligible for, and we won't be seeing happening here. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I know whenever we've talked about RFAs and offer sheets and any rumors around offer sheets coming or contracts or whatnot, there seems to be a lot of talk around some of those guys, and I just want to clarify that they're not actually eligible. So hopefully that clears things up. And those players, and they can come to terms with their existing teams, or in the case of Gusev, we'll see if he's possibly moved along here by Vegas. Like we've talked about before, there's numerous teams interested, and we'll see if they actually do move him or clear out some other players off their roster to make room for him with the salary cap situation that they're faced with here. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notification bell. I'll keep you all up to date on all the breaking news and rumors around all 31 NHL clubs. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.